Hey everybody, I'm Ben.
I'm Sam, and here we are in sunny Brisbane.
And this is Counterfeit Christianity. So today we actually just recorded this and I just forgot to push record, so it's really frustrating. But maybe this one's going to be better. That's the way God does things, doesn't he?
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, the topic we want to talk about today is a topic that's been on my mind recently, and the idea that I have is that the traditional church, the religious Christian church, is controlled by Satan.
All the denominations, by the way.
Yeah, all of them. Like, it doesn't matter. So it's a satanic institution that is, Satan has lined up to work together with the governments of the world to control you. So
and remember, not too long ago, the governments of the world were basically the church anyway.
Yeah.
It's only in the last 100 years they've decided to split it apart.
The church or some other kind of religion.
Yeah.
There's lots of them.
Look, if it did get split apart, the whole church and state separation thing, but I wouldn't say that's anything in our favour.
No.
We live in a world that's ruled by evil.
Yeah.
So, most of those institutions...
That's an interesting thing that I wanted to mention, is that a thing that changed my mind, that helped me start understanding this, is that a lie that the church sort of tells is that that God rules the world. And that's what the church does tell you, that God's in control.
The whole concept of the Prince of the Air.
Yeah. And I learned, or realized, I don't know how, that it's not the truth. Satan rules everything in this world.
And for our battle's not against flesh and blood, it's against the powers and the principalities, the forces of darkness in this world and beyond. And
the only thing that he does not control are those who follow Jesus. So
no, but he does persecute them instead.
Yeah.
Because this world is a fallen, broken world. And pretty much everything in it is not the way it's supposed to be. So, particularly the church. Yeah,
100%. So the idea that the reason that we're in so much trouble in this world is because of the church. I believe it all stems from the religious church.
The church is God's greatest enemy on the face of this earth. It is the greatest enemy of the gospel. I mean, if you try and talk to someone about Christianity, I try and talk to some of my friends, and they've got this preconception of, that's a church, that's a place you go on a Sunday with the building full of the hypocrites, the liars, the money grubbers, sexual abusers, and no Christian with a straight face could deny that that's the reputation the church has in the community.
Yeah.
Does that sound like Jesus to you?
Yeah. Well, why would they think anything different, right? Because there's no good examples of a Christian that they've ever seen. Yeah. Never.
Usually Christians are a bad example.
Yep.
I find most modern Christians to be more akin to Pharisees.
Yeah. Well, I've never, like you, I know you said it before, but we have the nicer people are the people not connected with any church.
Well, when I left church at about 18, and I went back a few years later and then left again, but when I left at 18, it was because I had friends who weren't in church. They were nicer, they were kinder, they were more generous, they were better people.
Yep.
And it was because I formed stronger bonds with those people that I left, and it helped me, because I've always loved Jesus since I met Jesus when I was about 10, and that's something I will never let go of. Jesus, I will never let go of. He's number one to me.
Yeah.
But I had these relationships with these people and they were stronger.
Yeah.
And it made me understand that the church itself isn't representing Jesus at all.
So one of the massive reasons that I think this is that God has put men in place as a head, not just the family, but lots of different things. And then the reason that we're having a lot of the troubles in the world right now is because the men have basically been castrated.
Neutered, yeah.
Yeah. And so the church has had a massive part to play in that. It's that, like they say, or even just the fact that you need to be controlled by another human being has to tell you what God is telling you to do. That's a massive part. So they're already teaching you to be under somebody else, listen to what they say, and that connects perfectly.
Jesus never approved any sort of hierarchy for the church.
No.
When they were walking down the road, was it to Damascus? He talked to them about it and said, the greatest among you is the least, the one who serves the others. And these guys were fighting about who's the greatest on the road. I mean, that's really cringe. To do that in front of Jesus, I mean, he must have really rolled his eyes. But what I take from that verse is that if we were all trying to serve each other, and love each other, then you don't need a hierarchical leadership system.
Right. Yeah. Not only do you not need it, it's totally unbiblical. It's not in the Bible at all, and Jesus does not want it.
Well, the opposite's in the Bible, because you remember with King Saul, that God ruled the Hebrews.
Yeah.
And they wanted a king. They wanted to be like everyone else. And God said, but the king is going to send your sons off to war and he's going to tell you what to do. Like,
He's going to make you pay tax.
Don't you love me? Don't you want me to lead you? And they said, no, we want Saul. We want Saul. So God gave them the king they deserved at the time. But that's the opposite of what we're doing today.
The system we're stuck in is still because of that decision.
Yeah.
The government, everything like that.
People seem to make that decision over and over.
They still are. That's what I was going to say. Like the people are making the exact same decision. Like they love it.
Taught that that's how they should be.
Yep.
You should be obedient to the pastor.
Yeah.
Not the pastor should be serving you, or frankly, there shouldn't be pastors at all.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, pastor is an illegitimate job. It's not there. It's not
in the New Testament. We hear about the elders.
Yeah.
But it's a position of respect, not authority.
And it's a position of years and years of being a follower of Jesus that you just get to by experience.
And it's not about position either. It's about fruit.
Yep.
There's the verse that Jesus talks about, the parable.
Yeah.
And he says, you planted weed in the weed. You planted, maybe it was weed. You planted wheat in the field overnight, but your enemy has come and planted weeds among it. And you're going to have to wait till it springs up and see what fruit it bears before you can pull it out. Otherwise, you'll pull out the good with the bad. I look at the church in that way, or have looked at the church in that way for a long time, because there's still good people in the church.
Yep.
I haven't really, maybe there are good churches. I haven't seen one.
No, me either.
But, good as in, Jesus led.
Following Jesus, trying to follow Jesus.
Not trying to take people's money, not trying to have, personal politics and power games and, all that sort of thing. I was in a really big church. There was several thousand people, and it was politics.
Yep.
It was popularity contest. It's a money game. I'm glad I left it when I was young, and I'm glad that I had known Jesus well enough to understand that they don't represent him.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, because most Christians see that, and churches like that one, Christian City Church in Bridgman Downs that I went to till I was about 18, the churn rate they have is massive.
Yeah.
They hurt so many people and give those people an unfavorable view of God.
Yep.
And you try and bring those people back into the fold of Jesus later on, and they're too hurt, they don't want anything to do with Jesus.
Yeah.
They think Jesus is represented by these liars, these thieves, these Satan lovers.
Yeah.
Jesus called some of the Pharisees the children of Satan. He said, Satan is your father. And the same thing applies
and they're acting like it, aren't they?
Well, the same thing applies to the modern church. They're Satan worshippers in a way. A lot of people in the church can still be good, and I think God's pragmatic enough to touch people and talk to people through that format, to them as an individual, despite the darkness that surrounds it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't give the church legitimacy.
Yeah.
I've had conversations with some Christians, and they say, well, it's not perfect, but it's better than nothing. I'm just like...
Well, look at all the good they've done in the past. Yeah, but you're not paying attention to all the evil that they've done.
It's sort of right, but it doesn't justify the sitting back and going, oh, well, it's not really right, but it's somewhat okay. It's well...
So let's say nothing.
God's kingdom is... it's okay if it's somewhat okay. I don't think so.
No, so that is why we feel like Jesus is pushing us to do this. We need to be talking about this because it's on our hearts and we can't shut our mouths anymore.
I mean, if we said to you that church is satanic, I hope that's... a
big shock.
Wake up. That gives you pause, and gives you food for thought. We could say the same thing about the Bible. Like, there's great value in the Bible, and, I particularly like the words in red myself, because there's, thousands of manuscripts that Jesus actually said these words. But I do feel that parts of the Bible have been manipulated, changed, removed, and
a lot.
That needs its own video with
it's
details,
a massive thing.
Details to justify what I'm saying.
We were going to talk about that today, but we weren't ready.
Yeah. We need some more time on that one.
Yeah.
But we are willing to say that any book is made of dead wood, and without God to inspire the words, then it means nothing. Yeah.
You need to be listening to Jesus in everything you do. He's alive. So, reiterating again, we're for Jesus. We're for Jesus. We want you to get to know Jesus. Don't be stuck in these systems.
And we want to ask questions. We need you to ask hard questions of yourself and the people around you.
Yep.
And people are going to get upset. And it's when they get upset that you've touched a nerve. If you've been taught and trained and indoctrinated that there's certain topics you can't ask questions for, those are the very topics you must ask questions on.
Yeah, that's all. That's where the real stuff starts coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. See you later.